Okay. Hello, everyone. I think we'll get started in a moment. Had a few technical troubles, but we're still kind of on time, which isn't bad. Just let me check. Everyone who's online on the Zoom room, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, brilliant. We can hear you actually very well. So while the speakers are speaking, please be a little bit careful with your microphones and children and things like that. We love them, but we are trying to give a talk. Okay. So, I'm Laurie. I think everyone more or less knows me, but this is, I'm the community manager here at Engineer Cafe. Wow, a lot of support early in the talk. I like it. But yeah, this is a great space, and I think I told most of you last week, we have all this resources provided by Fukuoka City to do events, run community support and tutorials and things like that. And because it's supported, it's all free. We can kind of cater to all areas, hardware, software, everything in between and all kind of weird stuff. All levels from like complete beginners to people with 20 years experience. And we're here for you. So if you have something and you're thinking, oh, maybe they can do that, maybe not, just come talk to me and we'll make a way to make it work. So already I've had a few people come talk to me and start doing the events, which is great. And I want to be really community driven. So I want to follow all your ideas. I don't want to tell you what to do, even though I might be telling you to give a talk in a few months if we can't get anyone to give a talk here. Yeah, some of the features and facilities, if you've not been here before or you're not familiar, are downstairs. We got our maker space downstairs with our 3D printer, laser cutter, and just kind of general work areas. If you take a quick sort of 1 hour training session for safety and how to use them, you can basically book these anytime, come use them, make a bunch of stuff, and try it out. Yeah, please talk to me or Suzutani over there if you want to learn how to use one of these. We also have all these different spaces for work and for meetings. We've got the main hall here and the kind of concentration space and meeting rooms downstairs. So yeah, try and think about all the cool ways you can use those. But let's move on to a bit more topical stuff. Coming up, we've got a few different events planned. One of these, how synthesizers work and kind of trying out different synthesizers, and that is given by Eric over there. So if you want to learn a bit more about synthesizers, go speak to him later. Yeah, and it's kind of all levels. It's on a Saturday afternoon, actually, January 16th, so just hop in. And then we also had a women's coding study session, which you did it last Tuesday, right? Do you have a plan for the next one right now, or?
Not decided yet.
Maybe
in January.
Okay, so sometime in January, but yeah, that's cool. So we got all these different things going on. A lot of people ask me, how do I find out about other new events? Number one place to check is the Engineer Cafe Compass page or the Engineer Cafe Twitter account. We try and put all our events out on there. So keep checking those if you want to find stuff, or just message me and I'll tell you if there's anything good coming up. Okay, so I think we're through all the stuff. Let's go on to the meat today. We've got 2 talks today, pretty exciting. The order is actually going to be backwards from this. We've got Web Genie, which I've been told is something like Game Genie, but for the web. And I don't really know what it is, so I'm very excited about this first mysterious talk from Brian. And then we got a bit of talking about game dev and changing dev styles during Corona, and changing the plans for the app and how it's going to get used, and that's what Dan is talking about today, and introducing his app, hopefully. So a lot to listen to. So let's get right to it. So if you want to jump on over here and give a big round of applause to Brian as we just plug in his computer.
Hey
Hey everybody, I'm going to talk to you while I try to do this. I hope I have enough brain to do two things at once. My name is Brian. I'm a resident of Fukuoka, and I've been living here about 2.5 years, but this is my first time coming to any events here, and I'm jumping right in the deep end with a talk. So let's see if I can share my screen. I've got a desktop. Okay, so the topic today is a small utility that I wrote recently called Genie. In case you're wondering, no, this is not my startup. This is just a utility I wrote for this talk. But the whole idea is to try to garner some interest in front-end JavaScript, specifically custom JavaScript, some along the lines of Grease Monkey or bookmarklets. Has anybody here worked in bookmarklets or Grease Monkey scripts? Okay, I see a few hands going up. Okay, a few heads nodding, that's good. How about, does anybody remember the old Game Genie for the old, okay, I see a few more hands. Okay, good. So I think we might get a way to share this. So I was really inspired by how the old Game Genie worked. I think for me, it was a really great opportunity to think about video games differently. Made me like my first consideration of hacking and modifying games. It was a lot of fun and a lot of excitement. So that's really what inspired all of this. So you might be wondering why use a Game Genie model for modifying the web? Well, it's fun, for one. And two, it's a good learning opportunity. Because if you think about your web browser like a video game system and hacking it or using cheat codes, it just might get people more interested in running front-end JavaScript. So let's take a look here. I gotta share more of, sorry. This whole two desks thing is killing me. But here we go. Okay. So let's look at something that I've done before. We've got Bandcamp over here and a song. And Bandcamp is a great website, but unfortunately it lacks a volume control, and sometimes that's a little annoying. So in, excuse me, in Chrome DevTools, I wrote this snippet over here, and if I run this, it just adds this nice little volume control. And actually over here in the console, I can see what the volume is. And this is nice, but a few things. One, if I want to package something as a bookmarklet, it takes a little bit of manipulating to do that. Secondly, it's not always the most portable. So I wanted something for my purposes that is portable and easy to use. So what I came up with, I came up with a solution that is making use of JSBin. Some of you might know JSBin and some of you might not, but if you know JSFiddle or CodePen, it's a very similar platform. You can just drop in some code and you're off to the races. For my purposes, what I'm doing is I'm dropping some code in here and I get this short pronounceable URI for my code, right? So if I copy this and I switch back over to here, I want to just refresh the page so I get rid of that, that volume control. Now if I go run WebGenie and I just paste in my cheat code, I hit enter and bam, I get my volume control. And it's just like being back in the 80s and getting extra lives. So yeah, I'm doing something that I would normally do already, which is modify and customize my website. But I've made it a little bit more portable, I've made it a little slicker, and I've made it a little more fun. You know? And so one of the things with this project is hopefully other people might find an interest in this kind of front-end JavaScript that's really kind of single-use or customized, and maybe I might even get some people writing their own scripts, sharing them from one person to the next. If you are new to writing front-end JavaScript, I do just want to give a little bit of a security warning. Don't run scripts you don't know, and definitely put the code in your own bin so that someone doesn't do a ninja edit and change that code later. But anyway, that in a nutshell, my friends, is Genie. And if this is something that you're interested, just head it over to my GitHub page, ceilingrat.github.io, and you can grab this for yourself. In fact, what you can actually just do is just grab this link and put it up there, and bam, you've got a Genie bookmarklet. So unfortunately, like most open source projects, this is horribly under-documented. I hope to fix that in the near future. But please hit me up with any questions or thoughts or ideas that you have. All right, thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you very much. Does anyone have any quick questions or comments?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Can you? I can't see what you're doing.
Okay. Oh, we didn't have the screen share on. Oh, never. Okay, we'll fix it. We'll fix it. Sorry about that.
What to see?
Do you have the directory of some way of sharing the people that you've made something Bandcamp? Is there some way of
Sorry, one more time.
if I say you made that thing Bandcamp, is there some way of sharing the cheat codes with have you got directory of other people's cheat codes?
I haven't gotten that far, but the community aspect is something I'm definitely interested. I'd rather kind of test the waters. So if you're interested, I'd definitely like to do that next, the whole community aspect. I'm on the Discord with the same username. So if you want to start using Discord to float that around, otherwise a repo on GitHub would be good. And I want to do actually some more tooling as far as the editing side of things go in the sharing. The putting it on JS bin part is clunky right now. The running, once you know the code, is pretty slick, but the rest of it needs some work. But yeah, definitely I like the community aspect, so I'd be happy to start sharing some things around. The next thing I'm working on is something that runs a joystick gamepad so that I can play some online games. So yeah, I'd be happy to share. That's great.
Sorry again about the trouble with the stream there. Can you see everything okay? Okay, looks much better. Brilliant. So, thank you again for that little show and tell. It's a really cool little tool. I'm excited to maybe try it out and see how it goes. Let's move on then. So Dan is going to give our next talk about game dev. So give him a big round of applause. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. How do I switch slides here?
Just
Oof.
space or arrow.
Hi everyone, my name is Daniel Yoder, and together with my brother Christian, I started a game studio in the summer of last year called Friendly Pixel. Friendly Pixel is currently in development on a game platform called Tobu. Tobu is being made for iOS and Android. A little background, I've been in Japan for 10 years, working mainly in creative fields, visual media, motion graphics, things like that. My brother Christian was at Facebook briefly before moving to Riot Games, where he led a team working on League of Legends for about 5 years. About 2 years ago, we started working on a project, sort of in the evenings, a weekend here and there sort of thing. We wanted to make an iOS app inspired by the popular board game Codenames. If you've ever played Codenames before, it's a relatively simple game. Involves cards, you flip them over, and it's something that is relatively easy to suss out the logic behind. And that's something that was quite important for the following reason. Neither of us come from an engineering background, and we very much started from square one with this. It was quite a learning process, and we learned a lot. After a few months, things started going quite well, though, and we kind of got in a good rhythm. We got in a pretty good division of responsibility. Last meme slide, I swear. With my brother handling the majority of the code, and me working on what the end user saw visually, the UI and the graphics. We worked on it for about 3 months, and it started going really well. We were quite happy with where it was going. My brother ended up quitting his job at Riot, and together we started the company. We launched the game, which we called Treasure Hunt, in September of last year on iOS. The game works like this. Basically, one person creates a game lobby, and other people connect to that game lobby on their own devices. So you have like 5 or 6 phones connected at the same time. In hindsight, it's rather obvious, but the thing that we kind of missed the boat on is that it was for iOS only. And when you get a group of 5 or 6 people together, chances are there's an Android user in there. So we licked our wounds and went back to the drawing board to see how we could solve this problem. We ended up choosing Unity as the game engine to build it in, for the main reason that it allowed us to very quickly and easily bring the game to multi-platform. And so in December of last year, we launched it for iOS, Android, and we localized it for Japanese as well, for good measure. The game was not a commercial success, I'm afraid, but it did give us the sense that we were heading in the right direction. The feedback we got was quite good, and there was definitely a path forward that we saw. In the beginning of this year, we began work on what would become Tobu. The thing we wanted to do, first and foremost, was provide a variety of games to for people to play. If you've ever heard of Jackbox Games, it's a game platform in which you get a group of people together around a TV or a computer, and people connect on their devices. It's a very social game, and that's really what Friendly Pixel wants to do. We want to create game experiences that involve people getting together. There are plenty of single-player experiences out there, but we want to provide something that is more social. Like this. The thing that Jackbox does very well is getting people together. One of the barriers to entry, though, is the fact that you need to have a PlayStation or you need to have a computer, and you're somewhat locked behind that barrier to entry. So we wanted to kind of lower the playing field and allow people who just had mobile devices to connect and get the same experience, whether that was at school, out at the bar with your friends, camping, lost at sea, wherever you would like to play. The second thing that we wanted to provide was a sense of progression. A lot of single-player games do this very well. Games like, or nominally multiplayer games like Pokemon Go or Supercell's Clash of Clans. As you play the game, you unlock more content. And I love the idea of collecting things, whether it's coins, stamps, and that's something that we really wanted to bring. We feel like coming back to the game and feeling like you have a sense of account ownership was very important. To that end, we worked with an artist in Belgium who did some amazing work for us. He did a series of 30 player character portraits. And from those, we sort of worked on the overall style of the platform, and we've begun to create emotes for each individual avatar, and we've begun animating. Again, this is all very alpha, so you'll probably see some pixels off here and there, but please don't judge me too hard. On the left, you can sort of see the type of thing we wanted to go with the player characters, and these are the emotes down here. And we also put in a very simple Game Pass type system, so that as you play the game, you're able to unlock the content. At the moment, the cosmetic system is very much separate from the game mechanically. And that is by design, because we don't want there to be, it's a casual kind of game anyway, so there probably aren't a lot of min-maxers here. But we don't want it to be like, okay, you kind of have to play this character if you want to, have the best chance to win the game. We are looking at some ways to implement maybe a little bit of unique game functionality into each character, but we want to be very careful about how we do that so that people are able to play the game how they want to play it without fear of being at a disadvantage. The third thing that ended up going in the platform was a bit of a surprise. Friendly Pixel started out to make games played in person. The digital devices are basically just a medium for people to communicate together around a table, in the living room, that sort of experience. But then this happened. The thing about making a game platform designed around co-location in the middle of a global pandemic is that it's not a very popular or good idea. So we had to figure out what to do. The joke is a little bit on COVID because my brother and I are already working as physically remote as possible given planetary limitations, but it's not something that our users necessarily shared. On the left here, you can see a very early prototype of the way the platform looked. You basically had a selection of games, and you would just discuss it between yourselves and choose the game. We had to figure out a way to include video chat while still making room for the other elements of the app. And it was quite a challenge, actually. There were several things around. For example, here you can see everyone in the lobby screen, and you can see all their smiling faces. But what happens if you go to, for example, the cosmetics screen? Does the video still run? That turned out to be a bad idea. People felt like they were not on camera anymore. Because when you go to the cosmetic screen, it looks different and you don't see your face anymore. It's very important that you're able, if you're on camera, you know you're on camera. We didn't want to have any unfortunate events. So we've basically made it now so that whenever you swipe to another screen, your video gets cut and is replaced by your player character avatar. There are just a lot of different nuances that kind of went into having to design this, and we think we came up with a good solution. And at the end of the day, I actually think that we're in a much better place with this design. The idea of co-located gaming is great, and that's a way that we really made the app to still be playable that way. We think that's a great way to play, maybe in a year or two. But putting in the video really allows for a lot of flexibility. It allows for just a much larger use case for people to play. A little bit about our tech stack. Like I said in the intro, I'm not the main person behind the technical architecture, but the game is built in Unity, primarily for that multi-platform ease of distribution. We use Agora.io for our video chat. That's a Unity plugin, and that's been a lifesaver. The graphics and UI and everything is built in Adobe CC with Spine 2D for the animations. We use PlayFab for our player accounts. That's a service provided by Microsoft. And the server is a Node.js server using Socket.io hosted on Elastic Beanstalk. If you have any questions about this, I will pretend to be able to answer them later. Going forward, there are two main things that we want to include in the app. Number one, and this is the very important one, it's the games. At the moment, we wanted to kind of complete the game loop of being able to create an account, collect skins, collect emotes, play a game, just get the basic loop going, and we think we're at a pretty good place as far as that goes. We have one game in there at the moment, and it's a lot of fun to play, we think. In the same way that Words with Friends was inspired by Scrabble, Among Us was inspired by hidden identity games like Werewolf and Avalon, things like that. Our own Treasure Hunt was inspired by Codenames. We don't want to reinvent the wheel here. We're looking to bring tried and tested games and game designs, game mechanics into the platform in a way that it benefits from being on mobile. The second thing that we want to do in the near future is bring a more robust group system. At the moment, if you've already got the app on the phone, from the lobby screen, let me just go back there a little bit. From the lobby screen, you can see there's a little plus button up there. You can just click that and, for example, send it through Messenger or WhatsApp or whatever. And if someone clicks the link, they'll come into the lobby with you. And so that's quite convenient. But we want to provide a way for people to reconnect with players that they've played with before in a more kind of community-focused way. And we're looking at different ways we can add kind of like groups or clubs or something to the platform. that wraps it up. Thank you all for your time. If you would like to help us play with the platform, we are very actively looking for people to do that. I've just set up a Discord server. I can send that over to you. I'm going to put up a QR code later if you'd like to check that out. It's brand new. I think it's got 3 people in it at the moment, so please join. If you're interested in collaborating in any way, we are bootstrapping this project, so we're not really in a position to hire. But if you have any thing you'd like to maybe work with us in terms of game design or development, we might be able to work something out. Thanks again for your time.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I'm sure there are a few questions about that. Don't run away just yet. Did anyone want to ask a question? Go ahead.
Just to understand, you were talking about how you developed one game, and you say you're not successfully on the commercial side. Did you figure out the reasons, and this reason, is it what pushed you to create a second game, or what the mechanism of, like saying, okay, I'm going to keep going with the first game, and I still think like we should switch to the second game?
Right, okay. Yeah, if I got the question right, basically we released a game last year that wasn't commercially successful. What did we do to, or why do we think that our second attempt is going to be successful, or what changes did we make based on the feedback we got? So first and foremost, the idea of setting up the game for just one game proved to be something people enjoyed that, but getting people together on their phones in the same room for one game was definitely, people wanted variety. And we were thinking to make multiple games, but the idea of jumping between apps, recreating game lobbies, inviting people, things like that, was kind of a bridge too far as people's willingness to jump through hoops to do that. So putting a bunch of games into a single platform was something that we thought would benefit a lot of people. We also found that the design was maybe a little bit too heavy in the first game. A little bit, just, we've designed the games to be very approachable now. I think that's really a focus we're trying to build on. You don't have to read a lot of rules, for example, to play the game. It's something that you can kind of very quickly get a handle on. So I think making the games a little bit more streamlined and a little bit more, the original, for example, game was played in portrait mode. And it might seem like a small thing, but most people just prefer to play games the first game was in landscape. And we've basically made the decision to design everything in portrait mode now, because that's a way that we found that most people wanted to play games like this. The idea of sort of even just something as simple as that, turning your phone into landscape, is sort of a hassle for people. There were sort of a lot of little things. I wouldn't say there was sort of one thing that I could put my finger on to say like that's why it failed. I think the inclusion, like I said, of video chat as well really opens the market a lot as well.
So the first game, how long did it take you?
That's a good question, because like I said, we started working on it a while ago, sort of on a weekend, sort of an evening every now and then kind of thing. I'd say it took us to launch the iOS version. We released it in September, and we probably about 3 to 4 months, I'd say.
Over a year, you realized that commercially it was not
So,
successful, and you switched to a second.
yeah, so from December is when we launched it for Android. And there were just sort of a lot of, in discussions with VCs and things like that, there was also a lot of feedback we got about reasons why maybe there was a better way to go about it. So I'd say we released in December, we had a look at how it was going. I mean, we never know, maybe it's gonna come back roaring at some point. It's still out there on the App Store. But from March, I believe, of this year is when we started working on the platform. So we kind of took a lot of the feedback that we got and came back with our new design.
I don't know that question.
Thanks for your question.
This game is different from the second one, or?
Yes, and the game is so you might have noticed on a couple screens, Tobu is a platform, so it's kind of very different, but it's called Treasure Hunt. This is an old screenshot. We're changing the name because there's really nothing about treasure in the game, and there's very little hunting as well. But the game is more, in principle, it's a very similar mechanic. You give a word clue, and then someone tries to figure out what word you're trying to allude to, and click on it. It has changed quite a bit. I would say it's a totally different game based on the same basic mechanics now. So it's been streamlined for kind of a very different experience. Yes?
So you mentioned when you were talking about your first game that you were in a conversation with VCs.
Yes.
And you mentioned that in your second iteration, the bootstrap.
Yes.
Can you talk a bit about the experience that you had and what this process was like for that?
So we are actually still in talks with several VCs. It's kind of a long, drawn-out process, but not much has changed. But I think we have sort of, we were initially sort of thinking to bring on funds and to raise investment and kind of begin a different sort of design path. But once we built out the current platform, I think we're quite happy with where it is, and we think that potentially, even without bringing on VC money, it's something that we can release without sort of planning like a 2-year development plan or something like that. Yes?
So within Tobu, are there going to be, you said it's like a hosting, or like a platform, it's almost like a console inside of your phone to play, are you thinking like 10 games or 100 different games?
Okay, good question. Like, how many games are we thinking to put in here? The games are, at the moment, we are thinking to have them all be first-party games. So they're all created by Friendly Pixel. We're looking at sort of one of the ways that we're thinking of monetizing the game as well. At the moment, it's completely free. There's no, you don't have to pay for the app or anything. But one idea we're looking at is maybe creating a rotation of games. Say we have 10 games available, maybe 5 games are available at any one time, and they kind of rotate on a cycle. But if you are our subscriber, then you will get access to the catalog. I'd say 10 games is more in the vicinity of what we're looking at, as opposed to 100. Yes.
Oh, right. So I'm wondering about the platform aspect of it. I mean, there's a bunch of integrations of various technologies
Yes.
to making this work. I'm wondering about building something on Unity. I would imagine that means you have to kind of pack it into a single executable that you can load on each platform.
Right.
So how would you have like a third party join the party?
A third party join the party. Do you mean on the development side?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good question. If we'd be happy to talk about anything. At the moment, it's just the two of us. We're not like we don't have a lot of bureaucracy to go through necessarily. So yeah, if you are interested, please reach out. There's no. I mean, as far as how someone could join us, well, we could add someone on GitHub or something like that. But something that we could talk about.
Okay.
Yes.
What do you see as the potential upside to this? Just let your mind why do you see the potential that way?
So where's the ceiling?
Yeah.
I think one thing that we are kind of interested in is the idea of user-generated content at some point. We don't want it to become too bloated, but the idea of people sort of being able to build, if we have a certain sort of suite of mechanics, people being able to build their own games within it or something, I think is quite interesting. As far as the platform, were you speaking as far as the platform? Does that make sense?
Also, what are your monetary expectations?
I don't really want to put a number on things, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. At the moment, we're very much focused on user growth as sort of a first goal. I think initially starting out, that was one thing that I was a little bit, not fixated on, but I definitely had okay, establishing monetary goals as being sort of the metric for progress. And the longer I sort of get into the development of it, I'm looking more and more at just user growth and are people playing the game, is it fun, are they recommending it to friends, things like that, as being sort of indications that we are heading in the right direction. Because it's a bit too early to know, if somebody, well, one, we don't have any way to even give us any money, but even if we did, that wouldn't necessarily be a great indicator at the moment, I feel.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that's true, but let's put it in a different way. What's out there that inspires you or inspired you as you did this?
To make this, the thing that we wanted to do was create that social experience. That is sort of a big, we're lifelong gamers, both of us. We love games. And some of the best times that we've had, some of the best times I've had, are playing games with friends, especially playing games with friends in person, being around the table, being in the living room sort of thing. And we wanted to recreate that. And there's a lot of possibility on a digital device that you just maybe can't do on analog. So there's sort of a lot of potential there. And that is really something that we want to do. And that's something that even with the going to the video chat, we've found in our playtesting that it still feels very social. We don't want to do like an online matchmaking where you're playing with faceless people. It's not to say there isn't room for that at some point. I don't know, if people think that's fun, then maybe we do that. But I think the thing that we really see as being the main point of the app is that the fostering of sort of social communication and social fun.
Are you finding it unique range that you've got?
It's pretty wide, I think. I haven't noticed that there's like some limit. Obviously you have to be able to read to some degree. But that's a good point, is that we also want to develop for games for international markets that maybe don't rely on being able to read English or something like that. But no, we haven't found that we haven't done all that much playtesting either. That's why I'm here to ask you to join us. But I haven't found we've tested from people relatively young to relatively old, and everyone seems to be enjoying it. Of course, we need to get a larger sort of pool of people to play it before we kind of have any clear indication in that regard.
So you do have a handle on the demographics?
In as much as we have tested it with people, and across the spectrum people have seemed to enjoy it, yes.
So you know the ages
Of people who are playtesting.
Someone who are playing the game?
Yeah, because it's done in person.
Oh.
Or, sorry, it's done in person or via video chat.
Okay.
So you can spot them. I write it down on a notepad. Thank you. Yes?
So the original game, how did you monetize that? Looking back, would you have sort of done things differently to how you did?
The way we monetized it, so the game works, let me see. Let me go back to that slide. The game has, basically it's like tiles and there are words under them. So the way we monetized it is by creating word packs. And basically the first couple word packs or like the basic standard word pack was free, but you could unlock additional sort of theme word packs based around, say, the holidays or, I don't know what people like, foosball. And you could pay like 99 cents and unlock that word pack. And if one person unlocked it, everybody could play it. As far as what I would do differently, I think I think given the fact that it kind of needed 5 or 6 people to be in the same place with their devices, I think that it was monetized in a decent way. I'm not sure that there is a way that we could have done it all that differently. Obviously, a lack of a larger marketing budget, is something. It would have been nice to get it out to a wider market. But overall, I think it was okay. Thank you.
So yeah, another round of applause for both of our great speakers tonight. Yeah, so I just, to close it off, does anyone have any other announcements or community events or anything else they want to shout out about?
Get it off the screen.
Do you want to go back to my slides?
Oh, sorry.
Okay, well, if there's no other announcements, we've got a bit of time to sort of schmooze and meet new people, so please make an effort to try and chat to everyone and get involved. If you want to learn more about Engineer Cafe, come speak to me. If you want to book in kind of hardware, laser cutters, things like that, get involved, that'd be great. But yeah, thanks for everyone for coming, and I'll close it off there. Thank you very much.